something new, so hopefully
This is great.
goes
Go for it.
Well, then sit back a little bit. Don't lean so far
All right,
forward. Maybe
sounds
you'll-
good.
Whoa.
I mean, I'm just very invested into
Yeah, I
this,
know.
what's going to come.
It's better when you sit back to the light. And
Well,
we're rolling.
cool. Well, if you want to start, all right, let's do it, guys.
Okay, here we go.
If you just want, for the generics, just talk a little bit about your characters to begin with.
I play Warren Lipka, who is he is going to the University of Kentucky under a soccer scholarship, and he's kind of following his father's footsteps, but also sort of seeing that he doesn't quite want to be his father and isn't feeling like this is the life that he wanted, and doesn't feel like he's doing anything special or exciting with his life. So I think he feels a little numb and depressed and wants to do something interesting. And his friend Spencer comes to him and tells him that there's this special collections section of his library at Transy University that is basically unguarded. And it basically gives him this harebrained idea that maybe he could steal them and then sell them, and sort of recruits Chaz, who you play, and Mr. Black, who is played by Jared. Eric is his name. It's been a while. But yeah, it's been a while. All right, sorry, you go ahead.
I play Chaz. He's like the last to join the group. I think he's like the most straight and narrow of the group, and he's the most financially driven with it. I don't think he would have taken part in this if it didn't seem like it had such a big reward, money-wise. But he's also the character that kind of tenses up and calls shenanigans at the sight of any mistakes. So I think he tries to keep the boat afloat up to his standards throughout the journey too.
That's very true.
And then can you talk a little bit about
Well done.
working with Bart Leyden, how that was like, as him as a director, this being his first true narrative film?
Bart always had his little canteen of tea every day, and he was very prepared, and that was really refreshing. We got to rehearse. He wanted us to live in a house together when we first got there, which was great, so we could bond and become real friends and hang out by the fire. And it was really an incredible experience working with him. Like I said, he was really prepared and just knew what the hell he wanted. And it was really scary because, I didn't know if this whole going back and forth between the real people and us was going to work, because usually it's similar to an I, Tonya situation where the actors are talking to the camera. But this is sort of breaking the fourth wall in a way. And when I explained it to people, I didn't think it was going to work based off their reactions. But reading the script, I love that fact. And then also, now that I've seen the film, I'm blown away and pleasantly surprised by how seamlessly it is edited and how effective it is in creating that much more of a visceral reaction, because it is that much more real and you do believe them. And it's not based on a true story, it is a true story, and you hear it right from their mouths, which makes it that much more affecting.
Yeah, working with him, it was awesome. I'd never worked with like a documentary filmmaker before, and I think given the fact that he works mainly with real people in real situations and trying to get the truth out of them and make them feel comfortable while they're going to these places and feeling vulnerable on camera, that really bled well into this experience, even in the audition process. Because I remember sending tapes over, and he would talk to me through it, and he'd say, in this scene, even don't worry about being too big, don't worry about how you look. He's like, as long as it feels real, just go with that. And that's the same thing that we had on set. I feel like he just wanted like as authentic of an experience as we could all create together. So like in certain scenes in the van when we're all paranoid and our hearts are beating, right before we shot that, we're like running around.
Yeah.
We're running around.
It's exhausting.
Like doing laps, like jumping jacks, push-ups, like getting our breath up, getting our heart rate up, and it was the first time I'd ever gotten to do anything like that. So it was refreshing working with him.
Cool. And then to jump back on something that you kind of both touched on, finding the truth. This film, one of the things about it is that it shows that there's always somewhat of fiction and truth. So as an actor, when you're trying to find the truth of your character, how was that like on this film when there's so many different conflicting, or not conflicting, but maybe slightly altered versions? Did you go?
Well, that's that sort of gave us a license to decide sort of what we thought in a way, because you listen to Warren's tapes and you talk with him a little bit and you hear what his side of the story is, and then you listen to Eric and Chaz and Spencer and you get a feel for each person's side of the story, and there's definitely all similar things, but there's definitely some stuff that's a little different. And so in the stuff that's a little different, it sort of gives you this sort of creative license to sort of create it how you think it would be, or how you wanted it to be, or your reason why in that moment, which is pretty liberating, and was pretty fun to do.
I think that's also something that happens a lot in life too, which gave us the merit to kind of like go our own way and find our own characters. Because there's times that it didn't really faze me that much seeing that in the movie, or like reading it in the script, because there's time I have like a group of friends that I've been friends with since I was like 9 years old.
Nice.
There's so many things that we all have conflicting memories on, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, I remember specifically that you said this, and they're like, I didn't say that. Shut up. So I'm like, so it kind of rings true to just a young mind, and especially when it's going all over the place with a situation like this, like such a wild thing these guys were dealing with. It's a no-brainer that some of them are gonna maybe just view things differently, because they were the hamster on the wheel, and their mind was just running so fast.
Cool. And then what was it like reading the script? Because watching the movie, the one thought I had the whole time is, how the hell are they getting away with this, or even pulling it off? When you were reading it, what were your initial thoughts? How it was going to go?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I wanted to know. What was going to happen, how it all panned out, and obviously when the heist takes place, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, reading as fast as I could to figure out what happened, and maybe even skipping ahead a little bit to actually see what happened. But yeah, it is a tense movie, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and there's a lot of you're oddly rooting for them to do it and to sort of get away with it, because they want it so much, and you sort of empathize with them, and you go, yeah, man, I mean, if I could do it without anybody getting hurt, like, yeah, I mean, I would try to do that too. That sounds great. I'd love to retire on a catamaran and Bali.
Like Tim Robbins at the end of Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a line. Wasn't that a line? Maybe it got cut. It probably got cut. But, damn it, it's a good line.
Yeah. No, but I agree. I mean, just to touch back on what you were saying, when you start reading the script, I had the same like thought, like what's going to happen. But that's exactly what these guys are thinking in the movie. It's like, so you're kind of entering, as an audience viewer, you're like on the same wavelength as these guys. So as you're going, you're kind of going, you get like the same heart rate in a way, watching it and us being in it, I feel like.
Cool. And then in the film, you watch all these heist movies to prepare for this heist. I imagine you had to watch some leading up to the film yourself to kind of...
Yeah, I watched all the Ocean's films, and then The Sting. And then I watched a couple other ones. I watched Fight Club and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which are not heist movies, but there's sort of, there's that brotherly camaraderie and being a rebel in Fight Club, and then also in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for sure. So yeah, those were really fun movies to sort of try to live in for this movie.
Yeah. I was looking back at like some movies, like we were saying earlier, like Heat or Dog Day Afternoon or like Reservoir Dogs, and the points where you see the clips of like right after the heist they tried to pull off and everything's going awry, which is interesting. But for me, I didn't feel like my character, he comes in last, and he's like financially driven at the moment. So I don't think he was worried about like, oh, let me do all my research. I think he was just worried about, all right, let's get in, out, quickest way possible, and yeah, let's make sure this all goes afloat. And also, he's a getaway driver, so I was just going up and down my street in my '07 Corolla and just peeling out, bothering all the neighbors, just peeling out.
That's sweet. That sounds fun.
So it's your fantasy heist league then, from all these movies, if you had to combine characters together for the getaway driver, is it someone from...
It would be like my go-to, our go-to like
is it like
team.
Bullet, or is it...
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Maybe
Drive. I mean, there's a getaway driver. You seen Drive?
Yeah, I was gonna say Gosling.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
he's
that
a killer
too.
driver in that movie. Like
great.
I feel so safe. I mean, they'd probably pull it off if that character was driving instead.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
You and your minivan.
Yeah, that's true.
God damn it.
It had shocks though, so.
Yeah, I felt him.
Yeah.
And then the tagline of the film is "Nobody wants to be ordinary," and that's kind of the central theme that makes the film so relatable to people. So, just want to ask about that, if there's anything you could speak to in terms of.
Well, yeah, I think that is the one of the main reasons, at least why I think Warren was doing it, but also the other guys to some degree too, is that you're told that you're going to have this life, you're told that you're special, and yet you feel like you're kind of doing what everybody else is doing. And I think they wanted to do something special, and they wanted to do something different, and they kind of wanted to do it in an easy, quick way, and not really work for it, which is something that somebody special in the film says. So, yeah, it's definitely that is driving them to do this.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a similar thing that a lot of kids these days go through with all like the expedited information that reaches your doorstep, whether it's through Twitter or something. You kind of think, oh, there's a point A to point B, but you teleport there. You don't actually have to run. You know what I mean? So that's probably like, I feel like the mindset they were in, like a shortcut to somewhere nice.
Yeah,
cool.
Which would be great.
Right, and then and then in the film you have the old man disguises. So you're unseen. I mean, as actors, and like, do you ever want to use that trick in real life or anything?
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's so fun. I mean, like that was a really fun day for me. I got to, I had to wear the makeup a lot actually throughout that film. I don't know why.
You had like the most.
I had it put on so many times. I don't know how or why. It's only in a little bit of the movie. But then at the end, when I had to do it myself, I knew exactly what to do because I've been watching him do it and feel it. So it was kind of fun to do it. And then, you're walking around, you wonder what you can get away with.
Yeah.
Made you want to do, was it Bad Grandpa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we want to go a little in that area.
That would actually be a really cool like promotional thing if we all got together, got back in the thing. We go like to a supermarket.
What are we thinking? We're sitting here in a black room.
Just trying to during lunch, we're gonna grab it out and
such a good idea.
Let's go,
do
guys.
round two of it.
Bring the camera.
All right. Well, unless you guys want to give me any exclusives for my debut interview, otherwise, I think we're all set for.
No, you killed that.
Oh,
man.
yeah, cool.
I think you
Thanks
got
so
a